we've been editing a whole bunch of files, but haven't really gone over very many text editors. A common one is called Nano, and I'll just install that real quick to go over it real quickly. But let's just edit Nano, and here you use the arrow keys to move around, and then you type more or less as normal. And down here at the bottom, you can see a whole bunch of your keyboard shortcuts. So the most common sort of are Control O to write out, and it will ask what file name you want to write. You can hit enter, and that's your save, or you can Control X to exit. And if you had made changes, so like here, I write some stuff, Control X to exit, it'll ask you if you want to save or not. So yes, I would like to save. It'll ask you the file name, the right temp, that's fine. And now, the cat temp, all that stuff is still there. That, in my opinion, is not the best file editing tool. There is a program called Vim that has a lot more functionality, but it can be a little more difficult to use in the beginning. So I'll just go over real quickly how Vim works. And there's a lot more than what I'm saying here, and there are other text editors than Vim. One very popular one that likes to argue with Vim users a lot is Emacs. And of course there are still graphical text editors, but when you're working on the command line for a while, it's nice to have an editor in the command line. So in Vim, the first thing you'll notice is you can't quite, I just hit A. So if you just start typing in stuff, it doesn't quite work from the beginning. That's because you start out in what's called normal mode. To enter insert mode, you either need to hit I or A, and they work a little bit differently. And actually, a cool thing about Vim is when you install it, command Vim Tutor will also be installed. Okay, you just enter. But Vim Tutor will also be installed, which will go over how to use Vim. So real quick, you use HJKL to move around the terminal, or to move around the screen. You can also use your keys, your arrow keys as normal, but I promise if you start using HJKL over the course of time, you're going to like it a lot better. So right now, you'll notice, whoops, if I don't hit, if I just start typing, random stuff will happen, but I won't sort of enter anything. That's because by default we're in a normal mode. If you enter insert mode with I or A, as I said before, you'll be able to get into insert mode. Now they work a little bit differently. So let's hover over this N. If you hit I and start entering, it'll insert letters before, and if you hit A, it will move forward and you'll insert after the cursor. If you hit Shift I, you'll jump to the beginning of the line and enter insert mode. Shift A, you'll jump to the end of the line. And then to escape, to get back into normal mode, you hit escape. There is another mode called visual mode, which you can get to by pressing V. And now when you move, it will highlight stuff. So if you want to, for example, highlight this line, what you can do, just $, you can enter the commands to do that in visual mode. Visual mode can also be used for, it's mainly for highlighting and then doing some stuff like copying the highlighted text for example. One second, let me. So those are the three basic modes of Vim. Now exiting is another problem some people have. So once you're in normal mode, you can hit colon to bring up this little command line in Vim, and then to exit without saving you hit Q. To exit with saving you hit WQ. One thing that will happen is if you make changes and you try and quit, you'll get this error, no write since last change. And what you do instead, Q exclamation point, and that will let you quit without saving. But there are, let's just for example, let's move on to some more advanced functionality. So one common thing that's pretty cool are called macros. To start recording a macro, or basically what a macro is you enter some commands on the keyboard, and then it will record those, and then you call your macro again, and it will repeat those same keys. So let's record a quick macro to just delete the first two characters of every line here. So what you do is you hit Q, and then the letter or the key you want to map to the macro. In this case I picked U because that's just the first key I hit. Now what you do is you start typing. One thing you'll notice that recording at U has been there for a while. Macros don't wait, so however long that's been up there doesn't matter, it will just run the commands successively. So in order to delete item under the cursor without entering insert mode, you can hit X. So let's just X, go down one line, and then to stop recording you hit U again. I think. Did I mess that up? No, that's my bad. You hit Q again. So let's try that again. So this time we're recording at I, X, J, and then Q. And in order to run that again, you hit the @ sign, and then I. And you can run this as many times as you want. If you can see, there are 6 more lines. If you hit the number 6, the @ sign, and then I, it will run the macro again 6 times. And this is fairly useful when you want to do the same thing over and over and over again. So say you have 1.pdf, 2.pdf, .pdf, and you just want to go and delete everything after the period, you can get a little fancier. So let's just overwrite the macro at I. Let's search for the first dot. Oh, let's search for PDF. We hit enter. We move back 1, and then we delete to the end of the line with the $, move down 1 line, hit Q. So if we run this again with at I, it'll delete PDF. And then again we can run this 3 more times with 3 at I. And that's the basics of Vim macros and how they work. One thing I will say is that annoying little highlighting. Let's just do JF because I see it a bunch. If you'd like, you can do :NOH, and that will get rid of it. Now, one thing you might notice is if you have Vim open, yours doesn't quite look like mine. That's because I have custom configurations. So let's go through the Vim RC. And if you remember back to the RC video, this will automatically run every time I open Vim. So I have like a bunch of random configs. Well, they're not random. They're set the way I want them. But what we can see here is this little command here, run a C program. This is something I use because if you ever write anything in C, you'll know you have to compile it and then run the program. And one thing, and that gets annoying after a while. So let's quickly vim test.c, and we can see here we have a basic C program that doesn't do too much, but when we use that :run as customly defined in Vim RC, what it will do is it will run, and then it will wait for you to press enter, and you can enter back in. And that's just one way you can sort of turn Vim into a code editor. But this this little command line in Vim is fairly powerful. You can do a variety of things. For example, you could execute a command on the bash shell, like ls, for example. It will run ls. One thing I have to note, it won't execute as like your regular user. So if you have ls aliases as I do, they won't work. It'll just be normal ls output, and again you have to hit enter to go back into here. And then another pretty important one in my opinion is the :e, and that's how you edit another file. For instance, I'm just going to go and edit the Vim RC again, and now I'm over at the Vim RC. Now just to talk about this a little further, the command keyword will tell it that you're defining a custom command. This run is just simply defining what I want the name of the command to be. This exclamation point is saying execute on the bash shell. GCC is the compiler. This % is a variable, much like an environment variable, but this will be the name of the file. And then I just run a.out, which is the default for GCC. One thing I could do, if I would like, is this. And this will again print the name of the file, but it will strip out the file extension. So if we write this and then we go back and edit test.c, we will see the run. It still works like normal, but if we run an ls here, we quickly have, where to go? There should be a test. Oh wait, I forgot to restart Vim. Now if I run it, it still runs like normal, but as you can see here, we have this LSB, this executable test that will stay there, and that will share the name of the C file. So if you'd like to do it that way, you can as well. So that's basically how to write some custom commands on the Vim command line. I personally just kind of want it to be a.out for now still, so that's the way I will do it. Now, what is this call plug begin? This is a plugin manager for Vim. Now, what I just ran was plug install. That will double check that I have all of my plugins installed. I only really have two. This is a plugin to make Go code easier. This is a plugin that will automatically do some syntax checking for me. And what this will do is open another pane. If you want to move between panes, you can Control W to move between panes, and that's Control W to enter like the pane move mode, and then W again to move between the panes. And then you can close them individually with :Q, just like you could exit a Vim command. So let's go back to test.c, or let's just write this out. And then one thing to note is you will your relative path, your working directory will stay to wherever you open Vim. So because I opened Vim in /home/tm/scripts, I can use the relative path for test.c to get back there. It's not rel number, but so let's just go back here. And so here we have set number, set relative number. So let's just, I think it might be unset. It's probably, I think it's set no number. Alright, so these two commands, which automatically get run, are for line numbers, and I'm just using this as one example. So if you want to set this manually, you could set number, and this will set exact numbers. But another helpful thing is set relative number, and that way the line your cursor is on will be the exact line number, but then you will also have like appears 10 lines away. And that's helpful because all of the commands or keyboard shortcuts in Vim are modular. So you can hit 10J and that will jump 10 spaces down. And if I want to jump up to that enable plugins line, I can hit 20K and I jump up there. So that is sort of the reason why relative numbers are so helpful. And that's sort of the basics of Vim. There's a whole lot more there. I would suggest going through your Vim tutor. And that will be helpful. But that's just one very common text editor in Linux.